Hello guys, welcome to another episode in the series of Guide to Hunter. Now today's episode is on the expert level. For this video, it isn't so much on gameplay, it's more focused on discussion and mostly part of me talking and try to invoke questions as to trigger how you should play Hunter. Now firstly, I want to cover one thing is that the 12-meter distance. This is the distance that I felt you can stay away from the rocket chair in which your outline wouldn't be highlighted to the survivors. Several layers to this. Number one is that so that those incoming rescuers wouldn't know where is your direction or where is your position unless their survival team is on VC. Now this can give several advantage to you. Number one is the element of surprise that so that the rescuer wouldn't know how or where to flank you or come from the side. Number two, it also gives you a proxy camping advantage in which you can actually stay closer to the direction of where the rescue is coming from, and then you're able to land an early hit and perhaps even land a subsequent hit before the rescuer can go to the chair in the first place. So this have itself some layer of advantage. So the next thing I'd like to cover is on tilt. Now in the last episode, I've talked about what are the signs of tilt and why is it bad. Now for this episode, I'll be talking on how essentially to overcome the tilt or even stop the tilt itself. So there are several layers to this, so let's get into it. How to overcome tilt? Step number one is that you take every game as it is. Okay, you ignore facts like promotion or demotion or how many stars or even what map or what is a survival lineup. Just take each game as it is. Do not be too pressured to win, yet do not feel the fear of failing. It is okay. Just take one step at a time, one game at a time. Focus in that game in which your objective is to just smack every survivors and tie them to the rocket chair and hence securing a win. It's easy as that. Step number two. Now this is something that's very easy to say, but it's very difficult to do. Which is, if let's say whatever game you're playing quick match or you're playing rank, the moment that you lose the game, just take a break. Take a 5 or even up to 20 minutes breather. Do some other thing, watch some silly YouTube, whatever. But just stay away from the game. Resist the urge to immediately queue into another game, because you are on the tilt and that will just set you further down the hill to lose will. So try to practice this. The moment you lose a game, just take a break. Step number 3, in continuation from earlier. So what if you have taken your break and you are still losing the second game? Now if you lose the second game consecutively, I recommend it's time to stop playing. Just take a break from the session. Maybe you want to continue the second session, it's alright, but I recommend you to just take a break to recollect yourself. Maybe sometimes it happens, even happens to me as well, that I'm not in top form, that sometimes the survivors that match up, they're just top notch quality. Alright, so sometimes it's just better to just take a break from it all. Step number 4 is that sometimes in game that you are being tilted, maybe the survivors are emoting at you, Kiter you're eating every pellet and being stunned every time. It's perfectly fine to just step aside, just stand still and don't move for just take like a 5 to 10 seconds breather, breathe in, breathe out, calm yourself down, think and set your mind. What is your goal? What is your game plan? If you're continuing to play into emotions, into the enchantress who stuns you every 7 seconds and pellet stun you every time, it's not going to do you any good. Okay? In fact, it's better to just stop, take a break, take a breather, look at the shaking ciphers, what is your win condition, then proceed the game from there. Step number 5 is to be just be respectful. It doesn't matter if you win a game or you lose a game or even tie. Just make sure, just do this simple step at the end of every game. In the post chat, just type GG. Doesn't matter if you win, doesn't matter if you lose, doesn't matter if the survivors, they're being salty or they're complaining or even say, you lost, what GG? It's alright. Okay? Take every loss gracefully, yet take every win just as humble as well. Don't need to brag, don't need to be, extravagant. Say GG, thank you for the game, well played. Lastly, on step number 6 is that don't be afraid to fail, don't be afraid to lose. Okay, so it doesn't matter if at the post chat the survivors are being toxic and laughing at you, they're teasing at you. It's alright, who cares, man? What's important is that you gain a replay from the game. You can actually review the replay and find out where things that you perhaps misplayed and what are the things that maybe the survivors did well. Because most of the time in game itself, we wouldn't know whether we are tilted or we are tunneling. We wouldn't know because it's too engrossed already. But outside of the game, we take a step back. When we review our game in a calm manner, then maybe we will find out, oh, I actually spent 3 minutes trying to chase this survivor, and that is absolutely no good. Or things like perhaps those survivors are so well coordinated that they cover each other's ciphers with pure efficiency and no wastage in cipher progress. So that is actually very good survival teamwork. Who knows? The important thing is that we learn from every mistake. We learn from every loss. Myself, I've lost thousands of games playing as Hunter. Now I treat every loss as a potential to improve and learn. I can learn so much more from a losing game compared to what I can learn from a winning game. Winning game feels good. Reviewing replays of winning game feels good, but that's about it. What I did well, what I did wrong, maybe not so much. But in the games that I lose, I can analyze and review so much more, especially if it's a loose game against a full, well-coordinated team. I value this kind of replays very much. And the next part I'd like to talk about is the game plan. Game plan of the Hunter versus Survivor. Now let's take a look at what is a typical survival game plan. Decode ciphers. Someone will bait the kite and contain the Hunter. Everyone try to prime the ciphers and cover each other's ciphers progress. And pop the cipher when the Hunter hits the last survivor. And then go to the gate and decode and exit. Pretty much simple as that. Sometimes involves harassing, sometimes involves body blocking, but it pretty much revolves around the same thing. On the other hand, let's take a look at what is the Hunter's game plan. Now I divide and segregate each of the game plan at differing point of the game. So we have early game, we have mid game, we have last cipher, and we have late game. So let me take a while to explain into details for each of these steps. The game plan, or win con as I would call it, for early game is that when at the start of the game, the Hunter will sweep through the map and find the first survivor to chase, and then would attempt to down and then chair the survivor. So that is the win con of the first few moments of the game. Mid game is when I would say you have checked your first survivor, and then perhaps there are probably 4 to 3 ciphers left. So what do you do at this point of the time? Last cipher, as the name implies, is you're at the last cipher stage. Whether or not it's being primed or still have not, it's up to you to find out. Late game is when the cipher has popped and the gate are ready to be opened. So now that you have understand what is the differing win con at differing point of the game, let me explain what it entails to you as a Hunter. Now early game, during the sweep, your win con is finding survivors, knowing where are the spawn points, knowing where are the weak areas, knowing where are the strong ciphers. These are the info that could lead to you to secure an early and efficient down. You can refer to all this information from my early videos, especially the intermediate ones. In the mid game, when you are on chairing your first survivor, it's up to you to decide you want to camp or not, or decide to go on the no camp route. It's okay. But you also must take into account and into consideration of several factors that I've previously listed out in my previous videos. So such things such as where are the ciphers that are being decoded, where are the nearest cipher, and what Hunter are you playing? Do you have a good tempo? Can you maintain a good positive tempo in camping? Or would it be better for you to maintain your tempo in continuing your chase on the other survivors? It's up to you. It's up to your choice. Last cipher is that when should you camp at the chair that you know that the last cipher is being primed, or should you just chair the survivor and proceed to pressure the last cipher before it's being primed? Or sometimes even though it's already primed, that the rescuer is still halfway through coming to rescue the chairperson, would it be better for you to just straight away teleport to the last cipher and force an early pop before the rescue is being done? So these are some of the factors that you can take into consideration as well. Late game is when the gate is being opened. Now this is something that I been telling time and time again. As long as the gate is not opened, the survivors are still trapped with you inside, and for as long as they are still trapped in the map with you, you still have a good chance of turning things around. So during late game, I must emphasize again, if you try your best to down the survivor, and to open the gate it will take 18 seconds. 18 seconds of typical time for the gate to be fully open. Time yourself. If within 15 seconds you're still unable to down the intended survivor, immediately teleport to the gate. And if you teleport wrongly, it's okay. We make mistakes, and it's sometimes, even me as a survivor, sometimes I'm able to read the hunter's game plan. I will tell my teammate to just retreat from the gate. Sometimes this happens, and if it happens, don't feel bad. Instead, compose yourself and make your way to the other gate and try to check out your Tynatus if there's any survivors that's nearby. The next topic I'd like to cover is decision making capability as a hunter. Now this is something that is very hard to be taught, but yet I try my best to make it as easy as possible for you guys to maybe try to practice. Now bear in mind, in decision making, there is no 100% correct, no 100% wrong. It's always in the middle ground. And it's up to you to whether or not to see through to it that your plan works out. So here are the things, my list of questions in which I will ask myself and try to get the answers on how I make my decision. Now, of course, for just like WinCon, at every different stage of the point, the decision making tree also changes. So for example, in the early game, I need to ask myself, who is the survivor that I'm targeting? Is it someone who is has very good kiting capabilities, such as mercenary, such as prospector, such as priestess? Where am I being kited right now? Is it in a transitional stage area? Is it in a strong cipher area? Is it at a weak area in the open area? Number 3, how long have I invested into chasing this survivor? How many skills have I used? Number 4, are there any factors that could make me forego the chase? Things like wasted too much time. Things like there's actually a survivor who is decoding nearby. Do I go and disrupt? So that is mostly my decision making tree in the early game or the early part of the game. I'm sure you guys would have caught on some of my previous videos where I forego a chase in order to chase another survivor, most of the time, which is to disrupt their decoding. And most of the time you will see I will be successful in doing this because they are caught unaware that the hunter would just change target. Decision making in the mid game, if I chair someone, so things like who are the primary rescuer or secondary rescuer, how many type turners have been used, where are the rest of the ciphers being decoded, what is their progress like from judging from the shaking of the ciphers, and the chat survivors, whether do they have any quick escape abilities such as mercenary with the pets, forward football, enchantress having 3 stacks, etc. etc. So these are the things that I would consider during mid game. To better visualize this decision making, let us take 2 extremes. Number 1 is that who are the survivor? Who is the rescuer? Mercenary. Type turner being used? None being used then. Number 3, ciphers are being decoded? Yes, they are being decoded. Number 4, do the chair survivor have abilities to make for a quick escape? Yes, enchantress maybe having 3 stacks. So with these questions asked, I obtain the answers from, and I would tell myself, no, I wouldn't camp. I would proceed to pressure the ciphers. On the other end of the spectrum, let's take a look. Who are the survivor that is coming to rescue? Maybe someone who is weak. Let's just take Priestess. Number 2, how many Titaners have been used? 3 Titaners have been used, meaning there's no Titaners left. Number 3, are the ciphers being decoded? I saw none, and because the other 2 survivors are healing up. Number 4, whether the chat survivor got any quick escape ability. At this point, it doesn't matter anymore, it's regardless. So with this decision making tree, from the answers that I got from, I would definitely camp to secure an easy kill, even if the rescuer come, and even if the rescuer manage to body block. But of course, those are the easy ones that we able to find the answer to and come to a decision pretty easy, because it's quite clear cut. But how about those that lies in the middle? For example, it's a second rescue. Who are the rescuer? Coordinator. How many Titans have been used? Maybe 1, maybe 2, indicating there's still potential Titaner left in the team. Number 3, are the ciphers being decoded? Yes, you can see there's a mechanic in the team, and 3 ciphers are shaking vigorously, and there's actually 3 ciphers left, which are these 3. Number 4, do the survivor have any quick escape ability? Maybe not. So in this scenario, what would you do? And especially if the chat survivor is on the second chair, and you just chair in the second chair, probably another 30 seconds to secure a kill. What do you do? Now the answer to that question, it depends. It varies a lot as to what hunter you're using. Are your skills on cooldown? Do you have teleport? And do you also have any other skills that could help you to down the survivor or down the rescuer? So this is where the grey area of playing hunter is, as to there's no 100% correct, no 100% wrong kind of gameplay. You just got to make a decision and stick to it. You want to camp? Make sure you camp properly. Make sure you know where is the direction that the rescuer is coming from, based on all the information that you obtain prior to ballooning and chairing the survivor. You want to know camp? Make sure you know which of the 3 shaking ciphers just now are of the weak ciphers, and then you have all your skills up, that once you teleport over, you have every tool you have at the ready to make sure an quick and efficient down. So this is what I meant by when it comes to decision making, it's very hard to teach, it's very hard to learn. You just got to do it based on trial and error, and for every failure that you make, you would actually make a mental note that, hey, maybe this decision making wasn't right. But even sometimes that was a correct decision, but perhaps the survivor read your decision making game plan and made a counter play, because those kind of things happens as well. Now let's take a look at another part, which is the late game decision making. So these are some of the questions I will ask. Where is the last cipher pop? Where are the highlighted survivors if you have announcement? And the kiter who just got up from borrowed time, am I able to down him or her in the fastest way? And how many survivors are left? So by getting the answer to all of these questions, it will able to tell you, number 1, which gate to work towards to. Number 2, whether or not you should continue pursue on the last survivor. Compared to the mid game decision making, this part is fairly easy. So let's look at the first one. Where is the last cipher being popped? Most of the times, the survivors will be rushing to the gate nearest to the last cipher, and that would tell you a rough idea of which gate that you should be heading to pressure. Number 2, if you have announcement, all the better. You can even see if there's any survivor at the ready at the gate when the cipher is popped and already start decoding, and you can give yourself a timer of about 10 seconds or 50 seconds whether or not you should continue pursue of the previous kiter that got up from borrowed time. And number 3, whether or not you should pursue that borrowed timed survivor. This one depends. If let's say there's remaining 4 survivors most of the time it is better to just let him go and go to pressure the gate instead. But what if there's actually only 2 survivors left, in which getting down this survivor, this last character would ensure you the kill. So these are some of the answers that will able to help you out in your decision making capability and able to make you a better hunter. Now, I wouldn't call myself being a professional or a very good hunter player in a bunch. That I'm still learning. I also watch other hunter gameplay videos. So if I could give a shout out to Hamo, the Japanese geisha, who I love a lot, and most of the time his decision making is just snap on and is very on point. 60% of the time I actually also don't understand why he made some decisions that he made, but when he actually sticks true to it and follows through, that at the end of the game you think back and actually, hey, that makes sense, but how the heck did he come up with that? And it's something that I still hoping to learn from him. Another IDV YouTuber that I'd like to give a shout out to is Blabber. If I'm not mistaken, he's a player from Indonesia. He actually also has a very sound game plan for every single game that he plays, be it as Robbie, be it at Fister, which he's well known for. And for every game, for every survival lineup, for every map, he seemingly always have a game plan and it never stays the same. And this brings me to my conclusion for today, which is playing as hunter. The most important point to be as a good hunter is to always have a game plan, always have a dynamic game plan, and be ready to change it depending on the situation and scenario. And that concludes the video for this time on the expert level. Now I hope you've been able to gain something from this video, that I felt the things I mentioned here today, they are actually pretty straightforward. They are actually very easy to understand. But putting things to practice, that is a whole different level on how to control your emotions, on how to avoid tilt, on the decision making, on understanding the win condition at different time of the game. It is something that just requires practice. I hope you guys be able to find this video helpful. And once again, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to lose. It's something that I hold as a mantra to playing Hunter, as well as my life goal. So until the next video, master level. See you guys.